Hi, I'm Gabriel McIntosh, Director of Digital Marketing at CGS, and your host for this episode of The Thread. I'm here with Joshua Mims, CGS's Site Training Manager in our Atlanta call center. Over the past several weeks, CGS call centers around the world have moved to a work-from-home model in response to the global pandemic. Today, we're going to talk about how Joshua adjusted to onboarding and training our call center staff while working remotely and maintaining social distancing. Hi, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well. So, how long have you been with CGS?
I've been with CGS 2 months this week.
Oh, congratulations. That's great. And what are your typical responsibilities?
So typical day-to-day responsibilities for any site training manager is to manage the successful onboarding and facilitation of the new hire client for which they're assigned to. And we have multiple ones of those. And typically just doing the onboarding piece of that initial new hire, successfully transitioning them to a nesting or a learning lab environment and making sure that we're providing production with positive, productive performers. Other things that we do are continuously modifying material to suit a production need. So if somebody needs up training in, say, a soft skill or a new process and procedure, both creating the content or taking content that exists and moving it into different time spans in order to meet a production need.
Okay, so how has your role been impacted by the COVID-19 response?
A lot of adult learning in an environment is done by a lot of re-questioning, asking questions, and being able to see a learner's facial reactions to that, see how they respond to the environment that they're in that learning environment, in that training environment. And moving to home, we are having to deal without that piece that's so beneficial to an adult facilitator. You know, adults need to know whys and having to explain different things. And without being able to see the look on their face, it provides a challenge.
Yeah, certainly. And what steps have you had to take or modifications you had to make to the onboarding and training process?
For example, we've got a new hire that's starting on Monday. The typical onboarding would be, bring them all in, have an orientation, and then we're in a classroom with each other. And since we've gone to our at-home model, we are starting our new hire, same as we would always do on a Monday, but starting at 8 a.m. We're only bringing in 5, and each one of those 5 will have an individual assigned to them. We've got their PCs set up in various locations on the floor, and they'll just, for example, I'll have one with me. I'll introduce myself. We'll get them logged into their system. We'll make sure that their VPN works through the Cisco environment that we're using, and then make sure that they can access the Zoom platform that we're using for training. As soon as they can access those things, typically takes about 25 minutes. We box up that package and we have them go home, set their computer up and test it with us one more time. Once those 5 are all in from home, that's it for the day. We begin training the following Tuesday or the next Tuesday morning, knowing that their equipment has worked. We've got a process in place and the process works wonderfully well. We've sent 62 agents home from training so far this week alone, and they just started their jobs on Tuesday. So we've got a pretty good handle on how to do it. And we're pretty confident that we're going to continue to do it very successfully.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds pretty straightforward and like you have a good handle on it. How quickly were you able to pivot to this new way of working?
A lot of us, myself, site directors, VPs have done these type of things in the past. So all of those experiences came together and we're able to just kind of put a nice process in place. It's safe to say no one's ever experienced anything like this. And some clients were always hesitant to allow people to work from home. And I'm hoping that by us being able to pivot so fast, so quickly, in order to keep their businesses going, because they're very thankful that we were able to pivot and transition so fast. So much so that we're getting a little bit more volume on some, and we're being able to cross-train some individuals in other areas as well. So being able to turn it so fastly just based on experience, I think we're going to have a great model going forward.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have it. I mean, like the process has gone pretty smoothly, even though it's the first time we're all encountering this. Do you still have some people going through the training in person, or is it totally virtual?
We've gone totally virtual. All of my trainers are training from their house to their learners remotely. We're doing no physical training inside this building.
That's pretty amazing. That's
It is.
a pretty remarkable thing to move that many people and to do it, to kind of change, upends the whole traditional way we've been doing things. Did you have all of the tools in place you needed to make these changes, or did you have to incorporate something new? Is there any new technologies that had to be tested and implemented?
CGS had the Zoom platform, which is what we use for facilitation. We did some up training for the facilitators to be able to be comfortable utilizing that tool. And again, briefly showed the new hires. So I would say the tools were there, but not necessarily being used. So it was good that we had them. And then we just started to exploit the tools that we did have in order to make it successful.
What has been the feedback and response so far to all of these changes?
The feedback so far is there was a little nervousness on learners' parts to going home because again, when they signed on for the job, they'd signed on for in-house training and then working in-house here. So the nesting piece was always a challenge for us in going into that. And we've got our first remote completely nesting starting next week, but we've added just more support. So instead of having a 1-to-5 ratio that we would in-house, we're going to have a 1-to-3 ratio, and they'll be broke out into their own little breakout room inside of the Zoom platform, and one person will be supporting 3. So yes, we're having to give more support, but we've really been able to show the agents that they can feel comfortable in knowing that they're going to still have the same level of attention that they would have gotten in-house. Now they physically can't, touch somebody or see them, but they have one person that's just monitoring those 3 people. And once we showed them that this was their process, this is who they're going to be reporting to starting next week, they felt very, very comfortable and all were very excited to go on.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's a big change. Have you had to alter how you are measuring success? Are there any new or different metrics that you're using now?
Yeah, we've, again, the nonverbal clues that a facilitator would get inside of a classroom, the confused look on a face, the moving back in a chair if they don't understand something, is no longer there. So more toll gates, more asking, more playing inside training environments, just more of the things that we would do in class that we would get a reaction out of, more doing it one-on-one. So utilizing a breakout room and, again, having more support inside that. So typically I would have a learning assistant on certain clients. Now I've upped that to 2 so that if we do need to spend more time with an individual based on just a poll that we took, as you can do ad hoc polling or a quiz just to kind of check the temperature of the room. And we can just break out some individuals and spend some more time with them, more utilizing of clients training environments where maybe we only were spending an hour a day in them. We're upping that to 2 to 3. But we also have the built-in time with a lot of clients. A lot of clients build in time to go sit with learners on the actual floor. Obviously, that's been taken away. So these breakout rooms allow us to just do more hands-on, more practice, and they're getting just more individualized attention by a learning assistant than what they would have gotten in classrooms. So they've really adapted well, and we're seeing good numbers. Our attendance is strong. Our toll gates on testing is, we did our first test from home yesterday with the new hire. Those scores are up 5 points. So whereas the normal class average would have been an 87, now they're up to 92. So we're actually seeing some really good feedback.
My next question is around, is there anything positive you've seen from this? And it sounds like there has been a little bit. And is there anything you might be able to use even outside of a global event like this?
Oh, wow. Our numbers, some of the metrics that we would use on a client, average handle times, things such as this have all actually improved. But I can see this thing going long term. A lot of clients in the past would have been hesitant to allow you to work from home. And I think by showing that we can not only work from home, but we can do it really, really well, opens up space on the floor for other clients. It opens up space on the floor for more headcount. So I think that we can see some really positive results from this. And the agents love it. They're saving money on gas. They get to stay home. Their hours are still the same. And we're putting together some things to, not get bored with working at home, or how to, manage your day from working at home. Because it's not easy for everybody. I certainly would have a challenge working from home. I like the structure of being in a building, physically going into the classrooms and speaking with trainers. I think when we see how good we can do, and you have to understand, CGS did this, not just here in Atlanta, but at all sites relatively quickly. compared to the industry. And I was really, really impressed with how fast we did it. I can see this continuing for quite a while. Maybe we don't keep an entire client at home, but certainly those top performers, what would be the need to bring them back? So it's really a time for all of us to shine. So far, I think we're all doing a very wonderful job with that.
Yeah, this is good for business continuity and potentially any disaster recovery situations. And I've heard that we've moved people offsite really, really quickly, and it sounds like you've done the same thing. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share about this process and what it's been like for you and your team and your learners?
So we've learned a lot and have put some really tight SOWs in place, or SOPs in place rather, so that, from a new hire to sending 65 agents home in an area that's been impacted by flooding, God forbid, in the future, we've got this process down pat, and it had happened during a time of crisis. So I think going forward, it's going to be easier for everybody. And I think that, once they got over that initial shock of getting home, getting their equipment set up, not having an on-site IT to help them, once everybody's up and running, they're loving it.
Great. And so it looks like you're in the office. I'm working remotely. Our New York office is everyone's is sheltering in place and working from home. Do you plan to eventually work from home, or what is how are you planning to work?
Well, we've got all of our agents here in Atlanta working from home. We'll have our site facilitating or sites facilities meeting tomorrow, just to kind of start closing the building down. What lights do we leave on? Do we leave what temperature do we set at? Have we stopped all the deliveries of coffee and the concession stands and things such as that? And then the plan is to really just for all of us to go home. I'll be here on Monday to assist with getting our new hires equipment pieces at that. But at the end of Monday, we should all be completely at home.
So thank you very much, Josh. Josh Mims is our site training manager in our CGS Atlanta office. To everyone tuning in, thanks for joining us for this episode of The Thread. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube and your preferred podcast source. We are exclusively sponsored by CGS, an applications, learning, and outsourcing company that supports clients' most fundamental business activities. Visit cgsinc.com for more information. I'm your host, Gabriel McIntosh. Let's stay connected.